Aviation Museum of Western Canada is under construction. Their collection is also getting spruced up for the opening of the new building. And joining me now to explain about one of the planes that's getting restored is Davide Montebruno and Marsh Pettit. Thank you so much for coming on the show. You guys are restoring a CL-84, which is a unique plane, but it also has a unique story. Tell me about it.
Yeah, that's right. So this was an experimental aircraft, and it was the first successful tilt wing ever built. Marsh, can you talk a bit about the history with the RCAF?
Canadair was in competition with a bunch of companies during the mid-'60s to develop this kind of an airplane. They were successful with their first airplane, and the Canadian military in 1968 contracted for 3. The airplane that we have here is the last of the 3 that they built for the Air Force. Canadair built 4 total. Unfortunately, the first 2 crashed, not because of the airplane, but because of pilot-induced issues with them. But this is the last of the 2 that are remaining. The other one's in the museum in Ottawa. And we started working on it last year with some real intensity, and I think we're about halfway through getting it presentable.
That's right. This particular model was an experimental model that they were doing test loadouts on, and this will be the first time that all of the parts are finally put together.
Right, because it used to be displayed in 2 pieces. Is that correct?
Yeah, and a few more than 2 right now.
Yeah, that's right. What you see behind us is the fuselage. You can see where we've had to do some significant shining to get the aluminum back the way it was in '68 when the airplane was built. What we have here is the wing. It's a solid wing. The wing is upside down, making it easier for us to get at the bottom part of it right now.
Oh, okay.
In about a month or 2, we're going to be finished with the bottom of the wing, and we're going to flip it right side up so that we can finish the work on the top.
Well, I can't wait to see what it looks like when it's done and when it's back in the new museum when it opens, hopefully in 2021.
I love seeing those old planes. They're so fun, and learning the history of them, where they were found, and how we got our hands on it. It's just incredible.
Yeah, they've been doing such a good job too, Catherine.
I have such a connection to that place because my grandfather was an air navigator in the Second World War, one of the most decorated in Canada.
No way.
Every time I go there, I'm reminded of him and his accomplishments and all the veterans' accomplishments. So I'm excited to see the new museum.
Royal Aviation Museum of Western Canada gets constructed. Work is also happening on the collection, and we're going to head down to the warehouse where some of the work is happening. Joining me again is Davide Montebruno. So we're going to look at another plane that you guys are restoring. This one is called the Casablanca Air Cruiser, but it also has a kind of a nickname.
That's right, yeah. This is a very specific Casablanca Air Cruiser, once called the El Dorado Radium Silver Express. It serviced a sort of a secret radium and uranium mine in the north of Canada way back in the 1930s, and we're putting it back together here, and soon it'll be in about a year it'll be on display for the very first time since we pulled it out of a bush back in the 70s.
It looks like it's in really good shape. What kind of work did you have to do on it?
Oh, complete. So this plane has been under restoration for decades at this stage. The plane is actually, although it's shiny, it's fabric covered, and all of this work has been done over the years and continues to be done by volunteers. Some of them involved in founding the museum. Many of them retired airmen and military service people who are putting their skills to work in retirement to put these planes back into public service.
And it's such an interesting looking plane too. It's like one I've never seen before. It also has kind of a good connection with Canada. We seem to use these planes more often than other countries.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They were built as luxury passenger planes, but actually they made it to market the same year as the DC-3. So in Canada, they turned out to be just perfect for hauling ore in the far north, because with a single engine, you could put it on floats and it could land in the lake. But in other places where they were doing city-to-city flights, this plane just didn't meet the market.
Well, it looks beautiful, and I'm sure a lot of Winnipeggers and Manitobans are excited to see it in person. Thank you so much. And a little bit later this hour, we're going to be looking at some smaller artifacts that are being restored for the Royal Aviation Museum of Western Canada.
Thanks for that, Michelle.
Aviation Museum of Western Canada is getting a revamp as they build a new building. And joining me now is Sandra Chuka. She is the collections team lead to talk about what conservation is when it comes to these kinds of artifacts.
Hi, yeah. So we're standing in the collections and conservation area of our warehouse space here. And as you can see, we have planes and other objects behind us. And we're doing something a little bit different than restoration. We are actually conserving these objects, meaning that we're preserving them using conservation methods and techniques so that they can be enjoyed for future generations. So essentially how an object comes to us is how we want to preserve it, because every dent, scratch, and rip and tear has its own story to tell and is part of the history of the object. So that's what we're really doing.
And what's in front of you there? They look like flight suits.
Yeah, so this is actually a World War II cold weather flight suit made in Canada, made in Ottawa. And so we have the pants, the jacket, helmet, and flight goggles. So this is actually a pretty recent donation to the museum. And what a conservator and a collections person will do when they first see an object is they'll take a look at it and see different types of wear and tear on it. Because like I said, each wear and tear spot tells a story. So here on the arm, you can see that they've patched it with jeans. And on the suspenders, we have their police suspenders, so they aren't the original suspenders that would have gone with these pants. And so we always mark that down because it'll be part of the story that we tell, and it's part of the person who owned this. And we know that this was, it belonged to a flight navigator in the Second World War, and then he came back to Canada afterwards and worked doing surveying and mapping, and he wore this uniform then as well.
Well, I can't wait to see what that looks like, as well as all of the planes and smaller artifacts. Thank you so much for your time this morning. And coming up, we're going to get some updates about the actual building that the Royal Aviation Museum is building right now.
Thanks for the update.
2021, the Royal Aviation Museum of Western Canada is under construction in the city of Winnipeg. And joining me now is President and CEO Terry Slobodian. Terry, thanks for coming on the show this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
How is construction going at the new site?
It's going extremely well. The most important thing with construction, of course, is that it's on time and on budget. And both of those things are true. We started on April 27th, and we're going to be complete August 27th of 2021.
We're looking at some photos of the construction. It's really exciting to see this new building. And what will the new building change in terms of experience for people going to the museum?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I think, first of all, what's one of the things that's going to be very different is that it's right on the airport campus where 4.5 million passengers and their friends and families will be driving by every day. And even from the passing by, you'll be able to see aircraft suspended inside the museum. So that'll certainly intrigue people to come in. And we've really focused on the visitor experience, ensuring that there's plenty of opportunity for people to sit and talk and navigate the space. It's 87,000 square feet, which is the size of the Winnipeg Blue Bomber football field. It's going to be amazing. The museum that we closed is not the museum that we're going to be opening.
It looks beautiful. We're looking at one of the renderings of the new building. What about the pandemic? We've seen all morning that you're working on restoring some stuff that's going to be on display, but how has it affected what you're doing behind the scenes?
It actually has not affected what we're doing behind the scenes. We did have to readjust our critical path for our projects plan as it relates to restoration and preparing aircraft for the museum. But absolutely everything is going to be done on time. And certainly our staff, even though we were working remotely, we were able to keep everything moving.
And we're glad to hear it. Thank you so much, Terry. That's Terry from the Royal Aviation Museum of Western Canada, which is expected to open next year.
Thanks for that, Michelle.
The Aviation Museum is trying to get lots of money right now of its own.
Yeah, they're living out a dream. They're building a new building. The Royal Aviation Museum of Western Canada has a new location. It's set to open in 2021. And joining me again is President and CEO Terry Slobodian. Thank you so much for coming on the show again.
Welcome, thank you.
So let's talk about the purpose of the new museum. We really want to make this museum world-class.
Exactly. And maybe we can start with our mission, which is to preserve and promote the stories of aviation in Western and Northern Canada while educating, entertaining, and inspiring.
That is, you really can't say it any better than that. So how do you do that?
Well, so we talked a little bit earlier this morning about visitor experience. So that has those three components are going into every single exhibit. There are 17 zones within the museum, everything from bush planes to innovation, and also children's zones as well. And so we make sure that we have a strong education program. Tens of thousands of students from Manitoba are going to be continue to come through our museum every year. And inspiring, we've been asked by the aviation community to assist them in inspiring the next generation for careers in aviation, everything from baggage handlers to pilots to engineers, the whole spectrum. So we are working closely with the aviation community and ensuring that we achieve that mandate.
Right, and so the museum itself, you need volunteers and memberships and donations as well, because that's how museums operate. How can people keep interacting with you during this time? Yes.
Go to our website and continue to go to our website, and also follow us on social media, because that's where you'll be getting regular updates. For example, in fact, on our website, you're able to see the construction at our new museum. So if you want to see the structural steel that's now going up, you'll be able to see that, and then you can go again in a day or two and see all the changes. So that's for those people. This morning you met our Chief of Restoration, retired Major Marsh Pettit. He would love people to help restore aircraft. In fact, the one behind me is a Fairchild 24. It was the first aircraft that the museum acquired and restored. It's from the 1930s, so that's an important piece. You also met Sandra this morning. She would love assistance with conserving and preserving our artifacts. And then there is dozens of volunteers who are involved in research, because we have to ensure that every story is complete, it's accurate. And then also we still have $7.5 million of our $45 million
All right,
campaign.
Terry, thank you so much for your time, and we're looking forward to the Royal Aviation Museum of Western Canada opening in 2021.
We are. Thanks for that, Michelle.